Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel, Govind English Teacher. In this video, we will be learning about syntax, semantics, tone, intonation, and the types of sentences to understand and effectively communicate in English language. The first one is syntax. It is about the rules that govern how words are structured in sentences. Learning syntax helps us create well structured and grammatically connect sentences. Semantics. Semantics is about the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences. It helps us understand the meaning of words and how they come together to convey ideas. The third one is tone. Tone is the way we express our attitude or emotion in language. Understanding tone helps us convey our feelings and intentions in communication. The fourth one is intonation. Intonation is the rise and fall of a pitch in speech. It can change the meaning of sentence or convey emotions. Learning intonations aid in effective spoken communication. The fifth one, and the types of sentences. Knowing different types of sentences, declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory, helps us convey information, ask questions, give commands, or express strong emotions in various situations. Overall, these concepts enhance our ability to use language effectively for clear and meaningful communication. So, for this topic, I wanted to upload a dedicated video with interaction with a dedicated personality, a national awardee. He is none other than JVL Narasimha sir, and he is with us and he is going to share, he is going to talk all these 5 topics. Welcome back to my channel, sir. Please talk over this topic, sir.
Good morning. Today let us discuss the difference between semantics and syntax. In any language, syntax talks about the structures. For example, in English, there are some sentences based on syntactical differences. That is, first one is assertive sentence or the declarative sentences. The second one is the imperative sentences. And the third one is the interrogative sentences. And the fourth one is the exclamatory sentences. Generally, what we say, if a sentence ends with a full stop, we call it an assertive sentence or a declarative sentence and we also say that it is a fact. Generally, we use the assertive sentences to talk about facts or truths. For example, if I say, I'm a teacher, it's a fact. The earth moves around the sun. Of course, this is also a fact. But it's not true all the time. Of course, let us come to a point later. All the assertive sentences do not talk about the facts. For example, suppose I say, I request the chief guest to come on to the dais. What does it mean? Is it an invitation or is it a fact? Undoubtedly, it is an invitation. It is a polite request. We are requesting him to come on to the dais politely. So we are not stating the fact here. So all these definitions are misleading. So all the assertive sentences necessarily don't talk about the facts. Of course, they talk about the facts, but sometimes they may not talk about the facts. And the second one is, let us talk about the questions or the interrogative sentences. Of course, the sentences are 2 types. The sentences which begin with anomalous finites like do, does, have, has, can, shall, should, might, must, and so on. There are 24 anomalous finite. They are also called helping verbs. They are also called auxiliary verbs. So, we say that if a sentence begins with the anomalous finites or the helping verb, it is a question. For example, can you speak English? Yes, it's a question. Do you like movies? Yes, it is a question. Are you a student? Yes, it's a question. But if I ask you, could you please give me your pen? Is it a question? No, it's not. It's a polite request. We are politely requesting the person to give me or give us his pen. So it is undoubtedly not a question, it is a polite request. For example, if you ask, could you please show me the way to the railway station? Is it a question? No, it's not. Of course, it looks like a question, but actually you are requesting him to give the information. In fact, you are trying to get the information you wanted from him. It's not just a question like yes or no. You will not be satisfied if you get the yes or no answer, because you don't expect yes or no question for that. Actually, you are seeking the information from him. So these questions or these explanations are misleading. That's why in English you can't depend all the time on explanations or on other things. You have to depend more on the meaning rather than on the structure and its grammar. Of course, grammar may help you to use the sentences correctly, but it will never explain how to use these structures or these sentences correctly in the real life situations. That the problem with grammar or too much dependence on grammar. This is where semantics will help us to use the language correctly in any language, whether it is in English or in Telugu. Okay, this is about, of course, all the exclamatory sentences cannot be used in the similar manner. It depends on many factors. So even for example, I want to say, now I will come to the point of imperative sentence. For example, open the door. When do we use the imperative sentences? What are the characteristics of an imperative sentence? Imperative sentences usually don't have the subject. Open the door mean you open the door. You, the subject you is implied here. But if you, for example, if you say open the door, it doesn't say anything. But here you have to use right intonation. Otherwise, it gives different meanings to different persons depending on his knowledge of English, intonation, and so on. So you must be very particular about intonation also. So now let us move to the other part. Of course, in writing, if you look at the sentence, if a sentence begins with the anomalous finites and ends with the question mark, you know that it is a question. Similarly, if you look at the sentence and if the sentence ends with a full stop, you know that it is a statement or assertive sentences. If the sentence doesn't have any subject and if it begins with the verb one, you know that it is an imperative sentence. Similarly, if a sentence ends with an exclamation mark, you know that it is an exclamatory sentence. The problem is when you listen to English, how do you know all these things? For example, if I ask, for example, I say, you are a student. You are a student? Here there is a lot of difference between these two sentences. You are a student, I am saying with a falling tone. If I say the sentence with a falling tone, it becomes a statement. If the same statement, if we use the rising tone, it becomes a question. Surprisingly, most native speakers don't use interrogative sentences or yes or no questions all the time for questions. Suppose he says that I am going to the film, I am going to the theater. you are going to the theater. It is rather, actually is questioning. But if you say you are going to the theater, with a falling tone, it is a statement. But if you say you are going to the theater, it is a rising tone, it becomes a question. That means the rise and fall of the tone changes the meaning of the sentences entirely. So you must be very, very careful about your intonation. When to use the rising tone, when to use the falling tone is very, very important for all the speakers, especially non-native speakers like us. In writing, punctuation gives the desired meaning, but in speech, intonation gives us the desired meaning. So we must be very careful about our intonation, that is the rising and falling of the tone. For example, we usually use the falling tone for statements. And for example, like you are a student, I'm a teacher, this is a school, I know English. All of these are used with the falling tone because they are statements. But suppose if we want to make a question, generally we use the rising tone if it is a yes or no question. Are you a student? Is this a school? Is this the post office? Like that. But surprisingly, native speakers use rising tone even for some statements if their intention is questioning. Suppose somebody says, I'm going to the theater. They say that you are going to the theater. Actually, it gives the meaning of a question because it is used with the falling rising tone. So when a statement is used with a falling tone, it becomes a statement, but if it is uttered with a rising tone, it becomes a question. We did not use the anomalous finite like can, do, does, did, etc. So we must understand that in speech, intonation plays a vital or significant role in meaning, and the punctuation marks make some meaning in the writing. But semantics is more important than all these matters, because when you speak something or when you write something, especially when you speak something, you must be very careful about the intended meaning. Otherwise, your meaning or your intended meaning might be misunderstood by the native speakers or those who know English well. Thank you very much for watching our channel. Let's meet tomorrow.